Hello, and welcome to It's Already In You podcast. We are your hosts, Liz
and Janine, nutrition and movement experts, mothers and business owners, obsessed with helping you quiet the noise of diet culture.
Seeing through the false advertising and promises of our food and fitness industries, helping you discover that everything you need to upgrade your health and well-being is already in you.
Hey everyone, today we are here with one of our very good friends, Julie Costa. If you are in the fitness wellness industry or space, you have probably heard of her name or been attached to her in some way, shape, or form. Julie has been in this industry for a very long time. We have been very good friends for a lot of those years. Julie started out in banking. She was a paralegal. When I met her, she worked for a company that she ended up after 10 years getting fired from, which she was really sad about at first. And then that brought along some really positive changes in her life that she is now very excited that that door closed so that other door could open. There's so much that we're going to talk about today about what Julie's doing right now, and I could go on and on and on about everything that Julie brings with her brightness and her lights. She is definitely a person who can network and bring a network of people together. She always brightens your day and lifts you up. Don't cry.
I'm gonna cry.
Okay, so I might cry too. But there's so many things I could say about you professionally, personally, that I love so much about you. And through the years, we've seen each other go through a lot of changes. And
they are crying. They're actually crying right now.
I didn't plan on the crying. But actually, you know, when something is real, it does bring out that emotion in you. And like, I care so much about how much success you've had in the past few years after watching so many things go on in your life that were not your fault. And I want to like preface the fact or say now in defense of Julie, her getting fired had nothing to do with the work ethic that she had or how much she put into that job. So I'm going to let you take it from here when it comes to...
Yeah. And I'm an open book too. So like, full transparency here. We'll talk about anything and everything.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes. So tell us, like, you know, the journey begins with this door shutting for you. And the journey began a lot longer before that. But you've always had this ability to bring people together, and you had a job that was community-based, and that was your job for a very long time. And walk us through, you know, what significant things have happened that have led you to this path, that have led you to this journey.
Yeah, I'll give a little context too, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Just so people who may not know me and my background. And I can give the context now and share because I'm in a space where I've definitely like healed. I very much believe in sharing from your scar, not your wound. And so I had worked for Lululemon for almost 10 years. And through my time at Lululemon, that's where I really gathered the concept and learned the concept of community. Like, I'll never forget, oh my God, what did they call it? Like, it was like a weekly newsletter that went out. This was like back in the day when I started in Burlington.
Yes.
And I kept hearing about these community events. I was like, man, like what? I just like need to learn more. It was like bringing all these people together. And so Lululemon like really taught me the foundation of community, bringing people together. And so when Janine talks about health and wellness professionals, like that is where my journey began, because that is kind of who our client, not kind of, was who our clientele was at the time. And so I really dabbled in the community aspect within Lululemon at various stores, putting on events. One of my favorites to this day is we brought how many spin bikes into one store?
Like 30.
Yeah, wow. 30 spin bikes into a store. It was like after hours at night. It was we had so much fun. And then we did like the glow yoga at like a nightclub. It was like the early days. We had so much fun. And there's something that happens, and I think people will resonate with this, where I took a 6-week sabbatical and I came back and I just wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid anymore. Like it just stopped. And I found myself being a little bit more vocal and questioning things. And deep down, I know it was coming from a place of like, I know I'm meant for more. I know I'm meant for more. And I was never going to be the one to leave.
Yes.
So the universe was like, well, if you're not going to do it, we're going to find a way to do it for you. And so then I was fired because ultimately I went to Jamaica during blackout period for Christmas. That was the ultimate reason why. But what was the biggest, oh my God, like breakdown, like identity crisis, because so many people knew me as like Julie, Lululemon. My family even called me like Juju Lemon. Like I was there for so long. It was like a huge identity crisis, a crush to my ego, biggest ego blow ever. And
I think I had to break up with them when you were gone. Like it was
and
like
that was never an intention though.
Loyalty.
Loyalty. And never an intention though, right? To make anybody like turn.
Sure.
No.
To turn on them. But it was it was like a huge ego blow in my life and like big life transition. And I remember I was like, I'm gonna show them. And then like went out and started doing my own thing, which I created my first business called the Sweat Republic, which was like bringing the fitness community together. Because I'm sure you remember there was just so much competition.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
women and fitness and all the things rooted on making people feel better.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Lululemon put fitness on the map. If we want,
I agree.
I mean, we have to get. I hate to say that because I've been in the industry for so long, way before Lululemon was a thing. But I do feel like people needed a reason to wear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everybody started to get very involved in fitness and the trends in fitness. And so it did put it on the map. And
agreed.
The generation that was coming up with Lululemon became all about fitness trends. And, so it's good that it was put on the map in some senses. And in others, I wish it wasn't like I wish people could see
I miss the old days.
Yes.
Yeah. Like the old Lulu days. They were so good. They were so fun. And it was in, I don't know, it never felt like sales. It always just felt like the relationships in the community. Those were the best
that's what
days.
it felt like too. I think everybody that was a part of your community when you were there, right? Like versus after, like, and we've talked about that, how like it did change and it has changed a lot. Like I don't feel the same when I walk by there or go into one of those stores. So it's different.
Yeah.
Definitely different.
And I've heard too,
vibe.
like post-COVID. I mean, have I been in a store? I did go to Seaport. That was my last store that I got fired from. I did go there because they were my crew and they had my back the whole time. But I don't think I've been in a store since that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. I feel like also like when you, like you said, you get the blinders off or you kind of have a little bit more knowledge into like the depth and the machinery that goes on. It's hard to ever go back. Like once you know, you always know. And so that doesn't mean for some people things need to end forever. There can be different relationships formed, but if it's not, doesn't make you feel good, a lot of times I think eventually that's the way out. So then you left and Sweat Republic, which I absolutely remember. Like,
yeah, Sweat Republic was born. And it was really just bringing people in the fitness community together to like support one another, learn from one another, grow. We had like monthly events at different places of business because in my mindset, like how I looked at it, because when I worked at Lulu, I was like fitness studio hopping to like go support everybody. And what happens is when you go through the doors, there's a different level of understanding of what the community is like there. And then you can authentically share about it. So we would have events, monthly events at like every different type of business so that people could, go through the doors of the business. And then COVID happened and it turned virtual and it was a lot of virtual things. And I think I just got like burnt out, like really bad. Probably like many people did during that time. And what needed to shift for me is I was seeing my friends, the people in the Sweat Republic who were either losing businesses, close to losing businesses, or instructors who were losing streams of revenue. I think in Massachusetts, they couldn't even like collect unemployment. Like it was a gong show.
And everybody was going to Julie.
It was a gong show. So
what do I do?
I
Where
made
do
the
I
decision
go?
to switch from more of like a business coaching mentorship, because let's face it, they needed streams of revenue. They needed money coming in. And that was the switch. And then I think there was just like a lot of people and I just got super burnt out. So we closed the doors to Sweat Republic. I think there were like 80 members. Closed the doors, went to full on like business coaching mentorship, had programs, did one-on-one. burnt myself out more. And then I knew, because I was the type of person, I can still be, but I'll check myself, of being like, oh, I need a coach to support me, or I need a course, or I need a program to like learn all the things. And at this point I was like, I don't need that. But yeah, like I don't need like regular personal development. I'm like, I just need something else. But I'm like, I don't know there's something internally going on. And then that's when I stumbled upon hypnotherapy and subconscious reprogramming. And this is funny how, again, universe works. At the time, I had just invested in a mastermind. I was like, okay, I'm going to like push pause on the hypnotherapy thing. I got in the mastermind, and you had a one-on-one accountability coach, and mine was the founder of like the hypnotherapy program I was looking at.
Wow.
You're like,
Yeah.
here it
we
is,
are.
right
Here
here
we
in
are.
my face.
Here we are.
Yes.
And so I obviously got to know her better, and then I signed up to work with her, not knowing it was a certification program. And so I'm going through the whole program, and I'm like, what the F am I learning? Like, it was just so much information, yet mind-blowing at the same time, because you weren't just learning, but you were experiencing.
Yeah.
And so I had such incredible, my God, personal shifts, and then led to professional shifts, and started slowly transitioning from like business coaching to like business hypnotherapy and hypnotherapy clients. And I wanted to learn more. So I got my master's certification. And then at the end of that, they were like, well, you can go on to trainers and become a trainer and teach people. And I was like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
Why would I do that? And then people started asking, they're like, no, can you teach me? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And so then I went through that, and now I
Yeah.
don't just work with people. Now I teach people and certify them. So I went from Lululemon to hypnotherapy to teaching and training people in hypnotherapy. I'm like, who would have thought?
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
so cool, because like I bet you can look at some of the relationships that you built in Lululemon, or some of like industries that you learned about and stuff like that. And I'm sure that some of those relationships and connections and have now kind of full circle came back to you.
100%.
Which is so cool, because sometimes when we're in the thick of like feeling really shitty, or all the things, you're like, why is this happening? Or am I ever going to be successful? Or is this ever going to feel like fluid or kind of organic? And when we kind of start to step into that a little bit, you can step back and be like, wow, that had to happen. And then you have that perspective again, always, because you're like, okay, this is crappy right now, or I feel really heavy, but I know that there's purpose for it. It's going to come. Faith in that. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah,
That's
and that
awesome.
was what I was struggling with at Lulu. I like knew, I'm like, there's something more. There's something more. I just know there's something more. And I was never going to be the one to like go explore the something more. And I think when you're in that situation, the universe does. It just kind of smacks you on the butt. And it's like,
Yeah.
here's your opportunity.
Yes.
Now
Yeah.
what?
Right. And
Yeah.
listening to that, though, is a
Yeah.
big thing, because a lot of people don't see the signs, or, or they miss them somehow. So, like, we always talk about what's in us. We know what's right? Like, did you feel that as soon as you found that, you were in the right place and you were doing all the things? And like, I've seen you like have this glow up.
You can
right?
see it just
You
even through
can.
social media.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Just you as a human look, and I didn't even think you could get any brighter, but you look
Yeah.
happier. You look more whole. Like you
Yeah.
look like you have found your place. And not to mention that you have been working full time.
Yeah, that's another story we can talk about too. Yes.
The whole time you were starting this new journey and this new business and this. So speak to that a little bit. I mean, I feel like I want to back up and talk about all things that you have dealt with through these years, and how all of these, all of your growth has also helped you to come back to what you've gone through in your life.
Yeah.
So speak. Let's.
I can
back
start
up.
there, yeah. Because when I say hypnotherapy like really helped personally, I lost my mom unexpectedly, car accident, 10 years old. And I was just the type of person, kid, adult, teenager, like all through the years. I mean, God, it's been, 30-something years at this point, that I just swept my emotions under the rug and like put on a strong face. And that's only going to get you so far.
Sure.
It's only going to get you so far. And things that pop up later in life, it's like, and I can actually take like how we're going to get into the story of building with a business and what just recently happened. Things that happen, the way we respond to them is because of the meaning we attach to them. And so I have a lot of a meaning attached to like getting something ripped away from me when I was so young. And so with hypnotherapy, it was really beautiful because it's not so much a like rehashing or like reassociating, but like processing through it. And so that work like really personally helped me heal myself in terms of like my grief and my grief journey, helped heal my relationship with my dad because it was a very rocky relationship after. We are just like two people stubborn, we butt heads. And he kicked me out of the house when I was like 15, 16 years old. And it's been off again, on again. And now it's actually in this like completely beautiful place. I'm going to go see him next week in Florida. And those two things personally, because it's like when you shift things personally, it's going to shift things professionally. And so that was like kind of the catapult for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the chills.
Yeah.
That's like, I agree with that wholeheartedly. When it's hard to have professional growth and really love what you're doing if personally you're struggling or have blocks or so can you explain that a little bit more? Because just as a human, I'm interested on like how that works. Like actually like you show up to, is it like a therapist, like essentially that you work through, or is it like, how does that heal things personally?
I want to add to that too, because I think like what you just said, like you had to heal yourself before you could heal any relationships that were in your life.
100%.
Right? So with what Liz said, like combining those two things, explain it from there. Like, do you feel like you were healing through this process at the same time?
Oh yeah. So while I was learning, and it's very similar to how my program is set up, because you can learn things, but in order to truly understand, you have to experience them, right? And when you experience them, it's not hypothetical situations like I was put in or what I'm putting my students in. You're actually working on something that's prevalent in your life right now. And so once you start to, it's like an onion, like peel back the layers and peel back the layers. So the modalities I'm trained in and what I teach as well. So neuro-linguistic programming, which is really how you communicate with the subconscious mind. Hypnotherapy, time techniques, I think you would be fascinated by. It's one of that and hypnosis or power combo. But what you're able to do, again, without reassociating to anything is we all have like timelines stored within us subconsciously. It's like a line, bunch of different events. And let's say, I'm actually going to use the current example of like what I'm going through in life right now, because I literally had to just do this with my mentor.
Yeah.
So while I was building my business, my now fiance was like, well, you need to get a full-time job because we have a mortgage. I'm like, yeah, of course. So I had a full-time job for about 5 years while I was building my business. I highly recommend anybody do that. I think there's a lot of shame around business owners that do that. And we just from subconscious beliefs.
Sure.
But you just need to do things that make you feel stable and secure. And so I did that, and I actually just got laid off about a month ago. And I told a couple of friends, and they were so excited. They're like, what is this going to do for you and your business now? And I was like, I am not at that excitement level yet. Because I felt like the rug was pulled from underneath me. Not a new meaning, but it goes back to the meaning I associated when I felt like the rug was pulled from beneath me when I lost my mom unexpectedly. Like it all goes back to past events. And so the modalities we were doing with myself to kind of get out, I mean, I probably spiraled for 2 weeks. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, what's happening? I'm used to 2 incomes. What are we doing here?
Right.
And so time techniques we did, because it's like, okay, what are the emotions I'm feeling right now? There was like anger, there was hurt. And you can go back on your timeline subconsciously to like the very first time you felt anger, and you look down at an event when that happened, and you're gaining these new positive learnings to take with you. And it's not to say you're never going to feel anger again, but it takes the emotional charge out of it. So you're not going into a next event or something maybe that's going to happen later that day, feeling anger, it neutralizes it. So when you have such a like neutral energy around anger or fear or hurt, it allows you to show up differently and then behave differently and then have different actions. So this is literally like what I've been doing like the past month with my mentor.
Yes.
I'm like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
But that's how you start to shift things, and how I started shifting things with like the grief around my mom was a lot of releasing negative emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Something kind of personal. So I have been doing like, which sounds like a lot similar, but like different for the last like 6 or 7 months, EMDR. I don't know if you, but, and it's, yes. And it's kind of to release some childhood trauma. And it sounds very similar. Knowing that you've done that, again, I'm like using this time for some personal like consulting. What is like the difference between the two, would you say? Like,
I think there's a couple of different ways people do EMDR. So I know some people do it with like lights. I think some people do it, you hold things.
yeah.
And I had done it with actually arms crossed, and then I was tapping like my shoulders.
Yeah.
The biggest difference for me is that I was in it and super emotional during EMDR. You do not get that with subconscious reprogramming.
Okay.
It's almost like I was like really in everything. And I say that there's no right or wrong way.
Sure.
Like everybody chooses the modality that's best for them. I just felt it was I was in it. I was emotional. Like it was really heavy the rest of the day. Whereas like I wasn't super emotional when I do timeline therapy or time techniques, and then hypnosis for whatever I want to like install.
Okay. That's
both great. They both work through things. I think it's just how you want to work.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's interesting. That's like, I'm fascinated right now.
It's so fascinating. I'm like sitting here thinking, when can I schedule my...
I used to sell black stretchy pants. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Right? You've evolved. While we're on this, let's describe hypnotherapy for someone who has no idea what it is.
Yeah. Well, what do you think it is?
Well, of course, like you imagine that, you know, you're lying on a couch.
The clock going.
And there's like a metronome.
Yes.
And I'm falling into a deep sleep, and you're going to like pull out all these awful things that are in my subconscious. And then I'm going to act like a chicken, right?
Yes. That's what most people think. That's why I wanted to ask. Because I'm like, that's what most people think it is.
I mean, I don't really think that it's that. But that's what I think, you know, you do think of when you think of hypnosis.
Yeah.
Or,
well, did you grow up here?
Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Okay. Do you remember, what was the name? Frank Santos? He was like the R-rated hypnotist. I think he would be at like Kowloon or something. It's like, that's what I grew up thinking it was.
Sure.
Cluck like a chicken, bark like a dog. That is not what hypnosis is. It's really the act of, so if we think about like our brain right now and the brain waves, they're super active throughout the day. And so the act of hypnosis, or like the modality of hypnosis, is you're slowing your brain waves down because you can't access or cannot access your subconscious when your brain waves are so high and engaged throughout the day. And so in order to do that, you have to slow them down. And all hypnosis is it's entering a state of total relaxation. So it should just feel like a light sleep state, a light meditation, to slow the brain waves down. It's not sleep, although a lot of people do fall asleep because they don't give themselves time to relax. That's all it is. And then once you are in hypnosis, again, just feels like relaxation, like a meditation. That's when your hypnotherapist will embed certain suggestions into your subconscious that you have specifically shared that you want. So you'll always have like a pre-talk to get really clear on what your goals are. And a lot of people think too, they're like, oh my God, like you're going to make me do things against my will, or that's not how your subconscious works. Like hypothetically, if there was anything in a hypnosis where a suggestion was something you didn't desire or want, your subconscious mind is highly moral, highly ethical. It would literally just dismiss it and like not take it on. This is hypothetical.
Sure.
Hypothetical. But your hypnotherapist is literally taking the words you said and literally putting them into the hypnosis, like into your subconscious.
Okay.
So you're not asleep, fully awake. You can also wake up at any time too. Like you shouldn't feel zonked out. You shouldn't even feel quote unquote hypnotized.
Okay.
It's really just like a light sleep, light relaxation, and you can open your eyes at any time, and you're in full control the entire time.
I love that. Why does her just explaining that to me make me want to like just put my head down and take a little resty and try it
It's very
out.
mindful.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very, it's a state of awareness and focused attention. That's really,
Which is almost the description of being mindful, right? Being in your moment. And that's, I think so many of us, we have the hardest time finding, right? Being there. Like, I've been reading a stress book, and like one of the things is like, you know, putting the phone away and like really paying attention to your communication and yourself, even not with other people, but just yourself. And that sounds like such a time that you would be able to connect with yourself, which I think we all need that more than ever right now.
Oh, and that's what it definitely taught me, because I was looking external for every answer. I was like, well, what do you think? What do you think? Like that was it. And it really helped me tune in. And even on walks, like I would, because I mean, we consume content like all day long. On walks, I was listening to podcasts, and now it's really nothing. Yeah. I listen to nothing on my walk, maybe music. But it's helped to like tune in and actually listen to my thoughts without consuming more people's thoughts.
Yeah, I love that.
It's getting, you say that and it makes me think, because I mean, I'm constantly like, education for me is like important, and I don't have time. So I go for the walk, I listen, I am in the car, and now I'm listening to the podcast to make sure it sounds good. And then, you know, and it's like constant, but there's so much information coming our way that I feel like the things like you're on the phone and you're looking for your phone, or you go to do something and you're like, what was I just going to do? Like, and that's probably because our heads are so full of all of this noise.
So much.
Right? Do you think that there's, and I know that you explained like what people thought hypnotherapy is, but do you think there's a lot of misconception around it? Do you think
so much? I think it's gotten better. I'm not going to say it's mainstream yet, but it's definitely gotten better, because I had to educate hardcore when I first made the switch, because nobody had any idea what it was or what it is. And I do see people more aware. It's funny. One woman in my in-person networking group, when we first met, she'll say now, she's like, I thought you were cute, but a hypnotherapist? Like, you're so woo-woo. Which I'm like, typically not. People would not describe me as that. And then I think she downloaded a free hypnosis, and she had results with that. And then she signed up for my like hypnosis library, had results with that. And then she just signed up for my certification program.
Oh my gosh.
So she went from like, you are way too woo-woo for me, like, to now like, I want this and I want to learn.
I think that that's like a common thing. Like I see that in fitness a lot. People will be like, I want to try yoga. And then within like a couple months, they're like, I want to do this. I want to. And a lot of times it's because you've transformed something in them. And if they're like a helper, they want to then give that to other people. I have obviously we talk a lot about nutrition and movement and wellness. Do you feel like within yourself and also seeing the people that you work with, does this process or your offerings help people then be more enlightened to like overall wellness choices?
Yes.
And if you began in a better quote unquote wellness space before hypnotherapy, are you going to have better, faster results? Like how does that like kind of overall holistic lifestyle play into the success or the feelings that people take from it?
Yeah. Oh my God. I've worked with so many clients on various things health related. Like one woman was just smoking recently. There has been weight loss. I'll preface and say though, like I will only take on clients for that if it's coming from a certain place of, if it's about a number on a scale, like that's not for me. And I think we probably all are in that same page.
Yeah.
It's more of coming from the place of like, they know they almost have like a protective armor, and like we have to work through that because they know it's a lot deeper. But it certainly helps with overall wellness, nutrition. Again, I've worked with clients on so many different things related to health. It's like they're just like getting in their own way, but it's not their fault. It's just the conditioning and programming that's running their show. And I don't think it matters in terms of like what stage you are in to introduce hypnotherapy. The goal is that it will help you get there faster. And the reason why is because typically whatever we do when it comes to wellness, nutrition, stuff like that, we're like taking the tactical steps, which is the conscious part of the mind. And it's only 5% of the mind. So we're not even tapping into the other 95%. So if you pair the tactical stuff with now the 95%, which is where hypnotherapy gets in, and that attacks the beliefs, attacks a bad word, but reprograms the old beliefs that are not supporting them to reach their goals, like that's your power. That's your power combo.
Wow.
Do you feel it's like a breakthrough of like, you know, you hear like the stuck, I'm stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Like in your psyche kind of like, so that breakthrough of like finding how to get through, you know, that place where you can't get past, right? Do you, so you work with a lot of different types of individuals, but a big thing that you do is the Anchored program.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit, and how is that like related, or what is the hypnotherapy piece of that? Is it a part of it? Is it all of it? Talk to us about that and who that is good for.
Yeah, so Anchored is my certification program. It's board accredited, and it is a 6-in-1 program. And it's funny, I've had a lot of people over the years ask like, oh, can I just do this certification? Can I just do this certification? And they actually all build upon each other. It's neuro-linguistic programming, so NLP, that's how you communicate and work with and coach the subconscious mind. Emotional freedom techniques, tapping, hypnotherapy, time techniques, timeline therapy, life coaching, success coaching. And so honestly, the bulk of the program, probably 80% is NLP, because it's all how to work with the subconscious mind. And then the time techniques, hypnotherapy, tapping are all like modalities of subconscious reprogramming. And then we bring everything together into a bow with like, okay, well now how do you properly coach someone? Because you can do like conscious coaching, right? Like talking things out. And a lot of the times what I'm seeing that's happening with coaches is, they're talking with their clients and they'll get great results in like the next couple days, but then the old beliefs come up that stop them from continuing to move forward. So that's where the tools of the subconscious work comes in to change and reprogram the beliefs to support them. And it's fun. I started out thinking, okay, this is for coaches. And that's how I started marketing. And we've had business coaches, life coaches, nutritionists, social media managers, podcast hosts. We just had 2 attorneys, a real estate agent. I'm trying to think who's in the next cohort already. An officiant, which is funny. And people join for different reasons. It's either one, personal transformation, which is why I joined mine. And then once they go through it, they're like, oh my God, now I want to like create a business around this, or they're specifically coming for like, okay, I want to learn this stuff to incorporate into my business, and then are pleasantly surprised with the personal development aspect of it. Yeah.
So Julie, just rewind for 1 second. So Anchored you created.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
So, and you took pieces of all these other certifications, trainings, basically put them together, yes?
Yeah, but what I'll share too is because it's board accredited, it's not like I was like, oh, they might like this. Oh, they might like that. Like I do have a required curriculum that like I do have to teach, train, and certify.
Yeah.
And then I get to either bring things in my way, like additional things, or create new things from that.
And while you're talking, and I'm sitting here thinking, wow, this would be a really awesome like team building, team training program. Have you done anything like that with like a business that wanted to get all their staff?
I haven't done it for the certification program, but there's pieces of it I've pulled out. Like one thing in NLP is when you learn it's called the representational system. It's how they like process the world subconsciously. I've had them take certain tests so they can determine like their primary representational system. So for example, some people may be more auditory, like hearing, more visual, more kinesthetic. And when you walk away today, and people may already do this, you're just not consciously aware of it. When you start to hear the words they're saying, if they're like, oh, okay, I see what you mean, and they keep referencing like visual words, the best thing you can do as like a leader or a manager is respond back to that person with other visual words, because it's getting their subconscious for it to like click for them.
So give us an example of that.
So if someone was like, what's another one for C on the spot? I'm like, what's another one for C? I see what you mean. Yeah, it's crystal clear, isn't it? Or I'm like, what are some other visual words right now? Or even auditory words besides like hear? feel, let's say there's like a disagreement between two people and they're like, well, you just don't know how I feel. You could then respond in a different way. That's more of like, you could take feel and say the same thing. Be like, yeah, I absolutely do understand how you feel right now. Let me just touch on something for you. Like, let's circle back. Let's touch on this. Cause like touch and feel are both kinesthetic words. So what usually happens when there's a disagreement is like, they're both not seeing each other's like internal processing. And so when you can respond back, that's a fun thing to do with the team.
Yes.
It's like so minute. And a lot of students, when they're in the program, they're like, oh my God, I kind of was already doing this. I was like, yeah, a lot of it you probably are. We're just like making you more aware of it now.
Yes. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I know.
Reiterating what is the right thing to do, right? What would you say? I'm sure people are wondering, like, what are the services and offerings that you have? Like if an individual wanted to come to you just because they're interested in hypnotherapy, that's an option.
Yeah, I do a 6-session program with people. I don't offer one-off sessions right now, and the reason why is because I really believe it's a little bit of a process, right? And what I'll always share is like the reason people come to hypnotherapy is never the real reason. So you got to first get to what the real reason is, and then you got to release some stuff before you reprogram. So that's why I take them through a 6-session program. So we can do that. I can do customized bundles. I have a digital library of, I think it's like almost at 100 audios at this point. It's like crazy.
And someone can just purchase that, like the library, without having like one-on-ones or being a part of the
100%.
Anchored program.
Yeah, so Activate is my library, and I create it for business owners, like entrepreneurs. There's a lot of like new topics I'm doing for just like general public, like a health and wellness category we just created because I take their suggestions and then just implement what they want. So yeah, anybody can join for that. And then as a member, I do 4 workshops a year for them. So we'll like get on a virtual Zoom and do a workshop.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Is your Anchored program all virtual? Like, is it pre-recorded and people do it at their own pace, or is it a thing that you like have live sessions weekly? Both. Okay.
Both. So it's the way I set it up is all of the trainings are in an online portal, and the expectation, because there's a certain hours requirement per the board that you need to meet, you are watching the trainings twice. It's the repetition to get into your subconscious. And then the live calls are so that you can actually practice, right? So it's like the trainings you're gaining the competence. And then in the live calls, we'll do like quick review, go into breakout rooms, and you guys practice. So now you build the confidence in it.
Yeah.
What is the time investment in the program?
Time investment is, so it's January to June. We do take 1 week off a month for integration because I think that's really important. The weekly calls are 2 hours. Aside from the weekly calls, there are practice partner sessions. Again, it's just the continued practice so you feel confident in the modalities. And you'll have a new modality to practice every month. So that may be like 2 hours max a month for your practice partner sessions. And then graduation weekend is 3 days virtual in June. And then I'm doing something different this next cohort where at the end of March, I'm doing a 2-day virtual like immersion just so that we can pack in more so that the end of the program, we can dive a little bit deeper on the things that people want to dive deeper into based on feedback.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So it's doable. It's like, I think the week off integration is like not only good for the students, it's like very good for me and my co-trainer too.
Right.
Yes.
That feels so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that you have this time, I mean, you don't have to like lay out a plan because you might not even have it, but now that you have a little bit more time and you're not having that full-time job, do you have things that you're feeling pulled to do, or does this feel like where you have been is the perfect amount?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's allowing me, so after Anchored, for those grads that want to continue on, like I got my master's certification, I'm now creating the master's certification, which will kick off next year. So it's allowing me more time and space to create that. So that, and I think just refining things. And then one goal I do have is to write a book. And I did
that's so
put a
exciting.
deposit in to work with someone on that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. That's
So I'm hoping
exciting.
that, this fall, this winter, I can do that.
Yeah. Would it be about these offerings, or
That's a
would it
great
be,
question.
you don't even need to tell me. I
I
feel
know,
like, when you ask someone, like, what are you going to name your kid? And they, before they're born, and you're like, you don't need to tell me, but if you want to tell me, you can.
Right. Well, now everything. You're not supposed to ask anything anymore.
I know. I'm so transparent. I don't know, because I had met this guy who I would be doing the book with in his agency. I've met him twice in person, and we've kind of like riffed on ideas. I think I just need to wait to see what lands. But the goal is that it's almost like a catalyst intro to the stuff to then drive people to activate and anchored.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. That's so exciting.
It is so exciting.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. So if you were to tell someone, like an entrepreneur, someone kind of like floundering or feeling the pull, like I know for myself, like I could never work a typical, I always knew I needed to create and help, and it's looked different along the way. But for anybody who is like, I know I want more and I'm feeling kind of stuck or low, what would you say? What would be a couple pieces of advice that you would give them?
Yeah, actually, one came from this past weekend. I was at an event, and her words really landed, this one speaker. It was called The Plan versus the Path. And she said, a lot of us, and this is me, we always have a plan, right? We have a plan to do this, a plan to do this. For like an entrepreneur who's like trying to figure things out, like if you were like I was, I'm like, well, I need to have a plan. You don't leave room for the magic and the path that's actually meant for you. Just got emotional saying that.
Yeah.
So I think it's like create room for magic. And I know that can be hard. That can be like if you're not even going for daily walks, like go for daily walks with like listening to nothing.
Yeah.
Create room for magic, because a lot of times we can, and this is a work in progress for me, is just like book out my calendar. And I'm like, don't leave any room for magic. So leave room for magic, and like it's going to work out. It just may not be what you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
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 I love that. If you could finish with a success story, and I know that everybody is like, how do I get in touch with Julie? We're going to write all of that down for everybody. It's going to be in the comments and everything. But I want you to focus on, like, what would you say is, and you could talk about a few, because I'm sure you have many in your mind right now, but what is a big success story that you've seen accomplished because of whether it be hypnotherapy or anchored or what you've been doing, any of your work?
There's so many.
I know.
Two that came to mind is two students of Anchored who are now clients. So we work on one-on-one. Past Anchored is the way they're showing up differently in their business. It's a different energy versus before. Before it was a convincing energy and like not bringing in clients and not bringing in sales. And sure, it's great. They're bringing in more clients now, but that's not what makes the story successful. What makes it successful is how they hold themselves now in the process and hold themselves in the business. And that may not sound like a lot to people listening. And if you're a business owner or entrepreneur, you know what it's like to literally run around like flailing to run a business and attract clients. It's a very different energy. So the way that they're holding themselves throughout the process, and they're such an embodiment of their work that they are just showing up so different in the way that they feel. And then another one, what did I say to her? Because we were just messaging yesterday. She had a hard time before where any single like consult she would get on with clients, she would automatically like discount when it came to pricing, right? Like I think we're all used to that, right? Yeah, we're all used to that. But because of the
three of the biggest people pleasers sitting at this table
100%,
right now.
100%. And because of the work she's been doing, she's like, you're never going to believe it. I got on a call with a client and she goes, I actually increased my price. And she signed up. And I was like, of course, like the signing of the client's great. But what I called out to her, I go, what's even more important is like how you showed up and had the confidence to like stand in your bigness and like stand in your value and then extend that. So that's been really great. And then just some honestly random ones you wouldn't think are so big. One woman came to me because she couldn't swallow supplements, like pills. And one session she is able to, and she'll still message me every single day. And she's like, you changed my life. You have no idea. So it's like, it can be like as little as that really impacts someone's like life on the daily to just like how someone's running their business. It's the internal work. It makes such a difference. It's like how you are showing up on the inside is a direct reflection of the outside.
The more you talk, the more I'm like, I need this
No,
in my
I
life.
do too.
Yeah.
Right? And the sad thing is that I'm sure you hear this all the time. Like, how do I find the time to do this? Right? Like, especially as a business
It's
owner.
easy, actually.
Okay,
So one thing
tell
I'll
us.
share, subliminal audios. You could listen to this on a walk. So I like habit stacking. So subliminal audio, like with the hypnosis audio, like yes, you need to lay down, close your eyes, rest, listen. Subliminal audios though, you can like listen to while you're working, you can listen while you're walking. And that's like a great intro way to subconscious reprogramming because you're hearing like meditative music. So your conscious mind is distracted by that. But then there are positive affirmations embedded about a specific topic that's what your subconscious is hearing. So you can be doing that while you're doing other things. And I think that's the easiest way to start. Easiest.
I love this.
Yes, I know. I'm thinking of all the people that need you.
Yeah.
So Brian is, my husband is going for, like, he's been in interview process for a higher position. And, you know, he's like, I need to be able to talk, like just, you know, like to be able to talk in front of like a board that's sitting in front of you. Like that's not, especially for someone who's been in a job, he's a lieutenant on the fire department, like has been in the job for over 20 years, like to go through a process of like, and it's serious, you know, you have like the whole town, the town manager, the whoever else is, there's chiefs from other cities and towns, and he's like, I need a program that it can help me like get out of my head and be able to publicly speak. Because that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? I mean, this sounds like...
Oh, that's why hypnotherapy is great for public speaking.
It sounds like it would be incredible. I still, when I'm doing seminars, like crack pencils in my hand, like I have to squeeze something, right? Like you just are so in your head about it.
There's a couple of things you can do. And another thing you can easily do is visualization. So like before he goes to bed at night or whoever goes to bed at night or first thing in the morning, because that's the brainwaves are slowed down. So you're more in your subconscious. Just start visualizing. Okay, what does he feel like when he's talking in front of these people? Like who's there? What's going, like actually visualize what's happening because you're painting the image in your subconscious and it doesn't know reality. It doesn't know the difference between reality and what's not. So start painting that picture as if it's like already happening, like it's already done. That's like another great thing. And then there's another NLP tool called anchoring, which we could do too, where like you can anchor and it's based on a neurological like stimulus response effect where you can anchor in any state. So like confidence. So like my hands are under the table right now and I have an anchor for confidence. So like when I tap on that, I can easily access a state of confidence. So we can like create an anchor for.
I could just talk to you all day
I
long.
know. I was thinking, I'm like, when you go to a party or someplace, people must like want to like learn so much.
It's fun. It's fun.
It is different. You
It
know,
is.
I feel like it's something that feels good in the way that you are communicating. You can tell like genuinely Julie is like, it's like in her, like it's like something you love so much. And I think that that's ultimately like success is when it transforms you and then you share it with someone else, you can like feel it when you share it. And that's a powerful thing because then clients feel it and then it's word of mouth and it's all those things and it just happens organically. I feel like so honored that you got to, or that we had you on today. Like I said, when you walked in, genuinely like have been like watching and seeing the glow and reading the things and hearing from other people of how much like Anchored has done for them in their lives. So we're so happy
ripple effect,
for you. We are so happy for you.
Yes.
Well, everything that Julie is doing, her Instagram, her website, everything will be connected to this podcast. So you guys check it out. Follow her. If you have any questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to have you reach out.
I can send too. I think I sent you guys the Activate link I can also do like a 7-day like free trial too for anyone who wants to test it out.
Well,
Yes.
there it is.
There it is.
Reach out to that link or click on that link. And do they have to do anything? Like,
You will have to, I believe, like enter credit card information, but you'll get the 7 days free. And if you're like, cool, I want to, and I'll whatever the active price is on the sales page, you'll get it for $100 off.
Sure.
Because if you're like want to continue, like great, and
Yeah.
if not, just put a note in your calendar to make sure it's canceled.
yeah. So do
Yeah.
that. Do that.
Yes, do that.
And as always, if you have any questions for us, you can reach out to us through It's Already In You podcast at Gmail and follow us on Instagram. We are so happy that you joined us today. And you should see Janine and Julie and their like loving eyes with each other, their friendship eyes. They're like, I think, going to hug and cry right now. But yeah, very genuine conversation. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
Thank you.